if you do not understand white supremacy, what it is, and how it works, everything else that you do understand will confuse you. In all of these 9 areas of activity, economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Anywhere on the planet, minute by minute, day by day, all of the time, all of the time, all of the time.
Okay, let me say good morning to all who have tuned in to listen and perhaps participate in today's show. Good morning and welcome to the Counter Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. I am your co-host, Mr. Bobby, and again, we thank you for being online and being in the chat room. Let me give you some numbers to call in. 516-453-9921 is the primary number that you would use. And if you have a question or comment, just push the number 1 button, and that will give you access to the call screener who will take your name. And then when it's your turn, I will call on you. Hopefully I will not mess up your name or butcher your name, has been my custom, but I work hard trying not to do that. Okay, and by the way, if you are a first-time caller, first-time listener, and you want to have something to say, whatever it is, you do the same thing, but make sure you tell the call screener that you are a first-time caller, and then they will alert me, and then I will give you a space to ask your question. Secondly, you can Gmail me if you would like at the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, MrBobby @gmail.com. Now, I'm not saying that it will be read today, but it will go into rotation, and at a point in time when we don't have a large call volume, then perhaps your Gmail will be read, so don't worry about that. And lastly, you can join the chat room. All you have to do is go to blogtalkradio.com, and you want to click on where it says programs. You click that on, and then another screen comes available for you, and that is for shows. Many shows are on there, but you want the Produce Justice show. And when you do that, you click that on, then the chat room is available for you to be a participant in. So good morning to all the chatters so far. Be Good One, Emery Lumumba, and Sesh 7 is in there. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Emery says, good morning, I'm still learning. Aren't we all? Okay, let's see. I think that's all the house cleaning I have to do. Yes, all the books are in, all 3 volumes. And if you would like a copy of Mr. Fuller's book, just go to producejustice.com. That's producejustice.com. And all the books are available there. And all of the, as far as I know, the podcasts that Mr. Fuller has, they're on there too. You can go back as far as you'd like, or haven't been on there recently, but you can go back and pick up some of the broadcasts or podcasts that Mr. Fuller has on there, and in that way you can be sort of up to date. Okay, I think that is all the house cleaning that I have to do. So let's go on with the show. Okay, let me present to some and present to others, or introduce to others, Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. Mr. Fuller, good morning, and how are you?
Good morning. I'm still learning.
Okay. As our custom has been recently, we have a little segment called The Thoughts and Expressions on the Mind of Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. Mr. Fuller, what are your thoughts or expressions that you would like to start today's program off with?
It's something I just wrote down a couple of days ago, and I put it on the economics, and it's very brief.
And I call it the conclusion of conclusions. And it's something that I have decided myself to recently simplify and focus on as my own conduct. And I'm just passing it on, and here it is. In all things, for the rest of your life, say and do only what produces the most constructive results. I'm going to repeat that. In all things, for the rest of your life, whomever you are, out there, wherever, on the planet, say and do only what produces the most constructive results. And that's the whole code, you might say, in what I put under the title of the conclusion of conclusions. The compensatory conclusion of conclusions. There's so much confusion going on, so many activities of different kinds. People going here, going there, rushing here, rushing there, doing this, doing that. And a lot of it is just a complete breakdown of what they are really trying to centralize their existences about. What, in simplistic language, what is this life about? What is that it? What are we supposed to be hoping for? What are we supposed to be looking for the short time we're on this planet? So we can just simplify it all if you concentrate and just say, in all things, for the rest of my life, I'm only going to do what produces the most constructive results. And that's what I have vowed to do with what I perceive to be the rest of my life. I'm still here. So all I want to know is, if I'm going to say something, if I'm going to do something, is it going to be the most constructive thing that I can say or do in every circumstance that I'm in? And I've vowed to do that where I'm concerned. And I'm putting that out there for all of the people on the planet, white and non-white, male, female, young, old. It applies. Am I doing the most constructive thing? Am I saying, if you get ready to say something to someone, is this the most constructive thing that you will ever say to anybody? That's what you're supposed to be reaching for. What will produce the most constructive results in everything that you do and everything that you say from now on, regardless of what category it's in, the most constructive. What produces the most constructive results. That's it. Now we'll take questions.
We'll take questions. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Fuller. 516-453-9921 is the number to get in contact with today's program. Don't forget to push the number 1 button if you have a question or comment, which is normally referred to or commonly referred to as the GQ. For those new to the program, at some point in the program, Mr. Fuller may give you the definition, his definition of what VGQ means. Okay. Let's see here. All righty. Let's start off with the Gmail here. This is from Anonymous. This is a question here, Mr. Fuller. It says, Mr. Fuller, I saw on YouTube that one constant creator said that black masculine lesbians, parenthetically studs, are the new replacement for the black man role. Strangely, most people don't say anything about the lesbians in the white community, but I do recall you said that there is no such thing as a black man in the system of white supremacy. He pretty much is viewed as a, quote, boy. However, Mr. Fuller, what do you think about that statement? Sent from Anonymous.
I think it means whatever the person who said it means. And I'm not, it's just been presented to me right now, and I'm trying to decipher it. What does it mean? What the people who say things are best qualified, presumably, logically speaking, to explain what they mean by what they say. So since I'm not familiar with what the person is saying, and I'm not absolutely certain that I understand what the person is saying, the person would have to, I would request, that's the procedure, that the person explain what all that means about, from their perspective, because that's how they're presenting it. The way I understand it, the way it's been presented to me now, that's the only question I know to ask. That's the only procedure I know in order to get the most constructive results.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That being said, that comment about in the system of white supremacy racism that the black man is considered a boy, and a lot of people have resented you saying that, but can you explain what you mean by that the black man is considered a boy in the system of white supremacy?
Because according to logic and the evidence and the compensatory code and the counter-racist code, he is considered a boy because, and if you ask if that's accurate, if that's what he is, that's what I am in the system of white supremacy. I'm dependent on the men. Neely Fuller Jr. is dependent on racist man and racist woman. Mm-hmm. I am their prisoner of war. That puts me in a boy-like condition. I am a boy. Men have the authority over boys. And when I look around at my condition, born in a system of racism, born as a prisoner of war, I am completely dependent on my prison masters. And who are they? Racist man and racist woman. In other words, white men and white women who believe in and who practice the domination of black people on the basis of color and the mistreatment of black people on the basis of color. That's what qualifies them to be racist. They're the most powerful people in the known universe when it comes to black people on planet Earth in the year 2023. I don't know of a black person anywhere, if he is the male, who is not in a boy-like position. in the system of white supremacy, which is the only government on the planet. I don't know of a black female who is not a girl in the system of white supremacy, which is the only government on planet Earth in the year 2023. The system of white supremacy is the only government. And that government says you will be on the status if you're classified as black and you're walking this planet anywhere, you come under the system of white supremacy. We are supreme over you. There's no such thing as a man who is black in that kind of condition. He is indeed a boy based on what Neely Fuller says? No, based on the logic and the truth. For those who say they resent what is being said, then it comes down to this one thing. It's what is being said, the truth. If you're black, do you not answer to whatever the dictates are of racist man and racist woman? I've never seen it or heard of it being done during the time I have been on this planet. Anywhere. Never seen or heard of it being done. And if someone has an example of where that happens, I want to know about it. And I can tear up everything I've ever written. Because all we have to do is just find out what the person who is person or persons who has that status of man and woman, and they're black. They're not boys and girls. They don't have to answer to the white supremacists about nothing. I want to know who they are or where they are, because I want to be there, like in the next 15 minutes or less.
Okay. All righty, Mr. Fuller.
Then they can just tell me that. That's all. If they resent it, then show me an example, and I'm not turning it down. I'm saying we can close this program, and we can all flock around those black people who are not subject to white supremacy, and we are safe. I mean, the ball game is over. The lights out in the stadium. We have arrived. We're at that place that Martin Luther King talked about, and many others, everybody else who's out here, including me. Why linger and have a program like this talking about a problem that can no longer exist? Because I'm quite sure if I find out about this, a whole lot of other people might know it. So all we have to do is just find out, well, just get off the air and take Neely Fuller's book and put them in a museum. This problem is over.
Okay. 516-453-9921 is the number. Remember to press the number 1 button if you want to call. Let's take a call. Let's go to Talif in the Yo for the rest of this continent, Youngstown, Ohio. Get ready, Talif. Here we go. You are on with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead.
Top of the morning, Mr. Bobby, Mr. Fuller.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Fuller, I'm 57, and I've been saying since I was younger that things don't sound right. I've always been the one that asks questions, and I get a lot of pushback from family. I don't have a lot of friends, but especially family. Now, what I want to say is this. Do you think, well, for me, I'm going to say that this is the way I feel. I think that we are a version of people of European descent. And the reason why I say that, because the white supremacists control our government. Every car that we drive, they've built. Now, I'm not saying that we haven't contributed to some of the inventions. Most of the words that they use, you get your degrees from them, your TV shows, the people that's on TV, they say, oh, this is a black TV show. No, it's not. It's just a white folks producing some shows that allowed to put you on it. So, Mr. Fuller, I'm asking you this question. Do you think that we're just another version of those white supremacists because we mimic everything they do and everything they tell us? And that's my question for the day. Mr. Bobby, thank you again for putting me on. And Mr. Fuller, have a good day, and I'm looking forward to hearing your question. Hearing your answer.
All righty. Thank you, Khalif.
Well, the evidence shows just that. Just what you just said. We are under the system of white supremacy. We have never known anything else. And there are people who say, well, it wasn't always this way. But we're not dealing with always. We're dealing with what's happening now. Now, it's nice to know that at one time, maybe 1 million years ago, that black people were flourishing, not killing each other, everybody happy 24/7. I haven't even heard of that. I have heard that we built civilizations, but then the question is, like you said, you asked questions, what happened? So logic tells me that somebody who knew more and understood more appeared on the planet. And I say that these people are white supremacists because that's who they say they are. And they say, I don't care what came before, nothing is brainier or more powerful than me, racist man and racist woman, white supremacists. We're on the stage now, and all of you people with color in your skin will bow down to me, or you will feel my wrath, which is the worst type of feeling one person can give to another, depending on how much we want to inflict on you. And this is all I've ever known. And every black person I've ever talked to who will tell the truth and not run from it, as far as I can see, even when they don't say it, they're doing the same thing, submitting to the system of white supremacy, the most powerful government that the world has ever known up to this point in the year 2023. The most powerful, the most complete in every area of activity: economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. No people in the year 2023 are more powerful than those white people who practice the system of white supremacy in all of those areas that I just named. All.
Okay. All righty. Khalif from the Yo, thank you for your call. Thank you for your call. Mr. Fuller, I'm going to take a break, but before I take a break, I want you to consider a statement that you made, and it's been repeated in the chat room today, and what it means for those who are tuning into the chat room. Where did the white folks go? I think that's what it was. Or which way did the white folks go? I need you to explain that. We'll do that after the break. Okay, you're listening to the Counter-Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr. Now, if you would like to get in contact with the show, just simply dial the number, which is 516-453-9921. Make sure you press the number 1 button if you have a question or a comment. Make it brief so that Mr. Fuller can fully understand it and answer your question. If you choose not to do that, you can also choose to Gmail me at the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, MRBOBBY @gmail.com. You can do that. Or you can join the chat room by going to blogtalkradio.com. You want to make sure that you click on programs. And then when that menu comes up, a window will open for shows, and you want to produce just a show. You click on that, and the window is open for you to join the chat room. Now, I would caution you, do not, please, ma'am, please, sir, do not use the chat room to ask me a question to ask Mr. Fuller, because that's not going to happen. Although I will take an interesting comment or subject in the chat room and ask Mr. Fuller a question surrounding that. So make sure you do that. All the books are in. You know what to do. Go to producejustice.com, and all the information is there to get your copy of the book. And don't forget that when you call in, give the call screen your name. Okay, Mr. Fuller, before we go to Tucson and Brooklyn, that statement you've made, I've heard you make this statement several times. A lot of people may be new to the program, don't know what you mean when you have made this statement. Which way did the white folks go? What do you mean by that statement?
Talking about needs. Black people, wherever they are on the planet, say that I need something. I need a job. I need somebody to control this flood. I need someone that when the earthquake hits, I need someone. Which way did the white folks go? That's our question when the earthquake hits. When are they coming? I got to either go where they are or they got to come where I am. I can't handle it. They know how to handle everything. Like Indian Chief Sitting Bull said many years ago. If I recall correctly, I read this somewhere. He said, the white man knows how to make everything, but he does not know how to distribute it. Well, I looked at that statement, and I said, he knows how to distribute it. He just ain't going to do it. Hadn't done it up to now. He knows how to satisfy black people's needs. He, collectively, white supremacists, racist man and racist woman. Mm-hmm. Which way did the white folks go? Right now, people are with their babies in their arms. That's risky. On leaky boats, taken to the open, angry sea, falling into the water by the thousands, with their babies in their arms, people with dark skins. Which way did the white folks go? I got to get. I can't stand this for my people no longer. I can't stay with them. We're crazy as we can be. I mean, we're pitiful as we can be. We don't have nothing. Which way did the white folks go? Please, I got to get across this border. You know, were you beating me back and you putting in traps for me and putting up gates and fences. I got to get across. I got to get across. And so Neely Fuller looks up and say, "Oh, you're coming to see me? Get out of my way. You look just like me. You ain't got nothing." Which way did the white folks go? I hope everybody gets that message, because I'm telling the truth. Now, people will say, "Well, it hurts. I don't want to hear it." Well, anytime you don't want to hear the truth, you book through booking anyway. You're losing your mind for sure, because that's the truth. All of my existence, my little high school diploma in my hand. Which way did the white folks go? That's Neely Fuller. I got to get something. I got to get to Kansas City. I heard that there's something up there for me. I got to get out of Oklahoma. There ain't nothing here. I got to get to Chicago. So when I get to Chicago, a whole bunch of other black people are there. And, hey, white folks are here, but they ain't giving me nothing. And I don't know what to do. But I'm going to try. I'm going to talk to them just one more time. And if I don't find none that'll talk to me here, I'm going to New York and try to find some there. But it'll be white folks you're looking for. Well, I'm a proud African. I mean, you know, I love Africa and all that. I know that you ain't getting on no boat, except for one there as a tourist, which the white supremacists will allow you to do. And look at the Sanders.
Okay. All righty. Let's go to Brooklyn. I always think of Flatbush when I was in Brooklyn. But we're going to go to Toussaint, who's in Brooklyn. Toussaint, you are now on to Mr. Fuller. Good morning, and what is your question for Mr. Fuller?
Good morning, Mr. Bobby. Good morning, Mr. Fuller. It's been a while. I have a quick question. My question, Mr. Fuller, is if we can't criticize other non-white people, how do we suggest that they do something more constructive than what they're doing?
Well, the use of the words. You saying, I don't have any criticism of black people. None. I'm just telling the truth. That's not a criticism. I mean, we need to grow up to that extent. And this is how you progress. This is how a doctor even... if a doctor wants to cure a person, your best doctor, I will be the path to the doctor that can make the correct diagnosis. Don't give me some nonsense to make me feel good. Doctor, I mean, I'm hurting. And you tell me, well, all you have to do is take this cough syrup and it will cure your cancer, Fuller. Oh, yeah. Now I feel better by you telling me that. Now I got it. But he's not telling me the truth. And the white supremacists are experts at that. They will say, oh, your condition is great. That's what they tell you when you ask for a promotion. Oh, you're great right where you are. You know, you're right where you should be. You are a success. You're a success in my cell block. They tell people, black people, that when they are locked up. Oh, you're doing okay. You're doing better than you doing behind that mule in Mississippi. You get 3 squares a day. You got to deal with some roaches and rats and whatnot, maybe, but, you know, we feed you. We clothe you. We put some shoes on your feet. You didn't have none before you came here. And so that's the way. They tell us when we are a success. Like the caller said. That's what he has observed. They tell us when we are a success. called white supremacy.
Okay. All right. Toussaint, thank you. Thank you for calling in, brother. Missed you, too, but we're glad that you have reconnected. Thank you. 516-453-9921 is the call-in number. And let's go to a Gmail before I get to Darnell. This comes from a long-time listener, Mr. Wells. He wanted to thank you for your response to as many questions, Mr. Fuller. But he had this. He said, Mr. Fuller, I understand about so-called Americans, which I do not understand what you were saying. But he says that white supremacy, I understand that white supremacy is the, quote, primary government, end of quote, that exists on the planet Earth. So therefore, I suppose that we all are white supremacists, or the supporters of the white supremacy in some small or large manner. Now, is my thinking, Mr. Fuller, correct in regarding if it is, or if it's not, what do we call ourselves if we're not called
victims? Victims. I put it right on the cover of the book in small print. It's in the original copy. It's in much larger print. But that's my identification. I don't have an identification that's true except that. Now, it can be said in other ways, but primarily that's all it is. I'm a victim of the system of white supremacy. That's my title. I don't have a title greater than that. Neely Fuller Jr. is a victim of the system of white supremacy. Now, a lot of black people say they are not victims. And they can say that. They can tell me that. Tell the white supremacists that. And see how it fits. See how that goes. Tell them that they are free. Any black person. See, black people talk to each other about what they are not. You get them in front of some white folks and you see how fast that changes. You can just put it to a test. I have, on many occasions. Yeah. Come back from that meeting and say, yeah, you do all that talking down there in the locker room. You know, I noticed you were silent the whole time we were in there with Master. See, black people, you know, we sell all them wolf tickets. We are the baddest thing in the ghetto. Until what? Until Master shows up. All over the world. I've never seen it happen any other way. Never seen it, never heard of it. We show off, I mean, big time. Until Master shows up. And they say, okay, boy, the fun's all over. You know, you've been king of this and king of that, kings and queens, mothers and fathers of civilization. I'll show you in 2 minutes you ain't nothing. Or less than 2 minutes. Any kind of way you want to time it. Because I can make you run out of time anytime I want to. Brought into the world with two things, time and energy. And I am master of them both when it comes to you. I determine your time. And I determine your energy. Which is what everybody's born with. Time and energy. If you're black, your time belongs to me. That's the white supremacists. And they prove it every minute of every day. If you're black, your energy belongs to me. As much of it as I can get out of you, if I want it. Sometimes I let you just lay around and relax. And sometimes I say, get up and go to work. work for me, or you're not going to eat. Not on my planet. This is my planet, the whole planet, every inch of it. You talking about your country and your flag, you ain't got nothing, because you ain't nothing under me. The white supremacists prove that every day. You don't have to take Neely Fuller's word for it. Look at your own life. Which way did the white folks go?
Which way did the white folks go? Yeah.
Every black person can ask that. You know. Of course, if you got anything, that's where it came from. You ain't got nothing you can call your own.
All righty. Continuing on the call line. Thank you, Mr. Fuller. Let's go to Darnell in New York. Get ready, Darnell. Let me clue you in here. Okay. Yeah, there we go. Okay, good morning, Darnell. You're on with Mr. Fuller. What is your question?
Good morning, Mr. Bobby. Good morning, Mr. Fuller.
Good morning,
sir.
I got a VGQ today.
Okay.
It's about racial dislocation. I noticed that it's a important tactic in the system of white supremacy because of the effects that it gets out of the victims. That's all. And can I stay on the line, Mr. Bobby?
Go ahead. Okay. Oh, all right. Yeah, we got you. I got you. Okay. VGQ. Okay. And you are on the line. Let me see here. Let me get you on there. Okay. Hey, Matt. All right. Thank you for your VGQ, Darnell. Okay. Let's go to the Gmails here. Oh, yeah. 516-453-9921 is the number. And if you have a question, just press the number 1 button. This comes from Mr. Lacey. How do you move up in there? Okay, anyway, here it is. It says, Mr. Fuller says that non-white people globally are boys and girls, parenthetically children. Mr. Fuller, please explain the logic of children ever having an effective stance against adults. Remember back to the time when you were an adolescent and your progenitors knew every move you could possibly make? The white supremacists have complete control over all available knowledge that non-white people have. Mr. Fuller, your response?
If that's a question, do the white supremacists have complete control over black people's minds and bodies? The answer is yes. But the white supremacists make mistakes. Even though they have control, they do make small mistakes. There are crevices in their armor. And this is what is happening now. Some black people are, first of all, beginning to face the truth, not being afraid of it. And boy, this makes a huge difference because it gives black people strength. It does not make them weak. Telling black people walking around telling themselves lies like they run everything, that's what's weakness. That's a weakness. It's not a strength. But when we say, like we'll say it when it comes to football and basketball, it's very clear. Man, we messed up in that last game. And where we messed up was this player did this player did that. We don't have any problems with that. When it's football, basketball, soccer. But you say something about economics and housing and food, we make all kind of claims that ain't true.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about and talk about how civilized we are. And look at the dead bodies stacking up all over the hood. Civilized? We got to be kidding. And who are we kidding other than ourselves? Just grinning and dancing just like nothing is happening. This is why the code says we're not eligible to celebrate nothing. We need to be educated about the reality of our circumstances and admit the truth. That's what the code book is for. The books that I've written and what I'm saying now, this program and all other so-called black programs. What is it? Supposed to be showing off? Or are we supposed to be finding out the truth about our condition, admitting that we are weak people, and this is how you get strong? Anybody who lifts weights knows that. You don't go to the gym because you're already strong. You go to the gym because you admit that you are weak.
Mm-hmm.
It's a simple formula. But we haven't even learned that principle. That's a universal principle. A squirrel understands that. An elephant understands that. You see the small elephants being taught that you're going to have to get stronger if you're going to survive. We're in the forest. You got enemies out here. So I'll look out for you as best I can. But you're going to have to get stronger on your own. You can't stay this way. And you'll see them teaching the smaller elephants, everything that they know to survive and become stronger and bigger and bigger and bigger so that nobody will attack them. All the animals understand that. But black people are trying hard to not even have animal sense. So we act worse than animals ever acted.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, then the question would come up, how are we going to do that, Mr. Fuller, if there's no contact, no conflict?
If there's no... how are we going to do what?
What you just said.
Oh, I said, all contacts should be constructive. I don't say no contact, no conflict. When there is conflict, there's supposed to be no contact.
Oh, okay.
Every time a black person meets up, and black people meet up all the time, and almost all you got to do is just wait 15 minutes, and we're at each other's throats. We out with those 9mm in a minute. But suppose we didn't have contacts. We're walking around with the guns, but we can't find no black people. We're just passing by white people on every street. See, homeboy feels lonely when it's like that. But when he's down there among plenty of black people and carrying those guns just like he is, all like that, now he show how sick we are. Now we're at home. We got a gun, they got a gun. Sooner or later, we're going to shoot each other. Because we pass each other on the street every day. Sooner or later, one of us is going to bump into the other. Then there's bullets flying all over the place, killing little girls on the playground over there. Little black ones. Better not hit nobody white. You have a dragnet out for you.
Okay.
Not that you should be doing it to anybody, all right?
Yes,
but I'm saying, this is the reputation we got, and we have earned it, and deliberately earned it. and talking about black culture. Black culture is what you do. So not no hooray for black culture. That's another part of the code. Black culture ain't worth 2 cents to nobody who got 2 cents. Because what is black culture? What you do. Not what you say you hope to do. It's what you do. That's black culture. You're looking at it. So if you carjacking, that's your culture. And you're black, that's black culture. They say, well, that's a copy of white culture. You got that right. Now you understand white supremacy.
Okay. So in the system of white supremacy, happy is really not existence for the black person? Like saying somebody say happy birthday or happy this or happy that?
A black person who is happy in the system of white supremacy is what the racist, the counter-racist code says is acute insanity. You're going to be happy about an unhappy situation? You've lost your mind. Like the movie Saving Private Ryan. Those Rangers were on a battlefield, and one of the soldiers says to the captain, Captain, I don't feel good about this mission that you're talking about, that we're going to attack this machine gun nest with the small force that we have. And the captain said what in Saving Private Ryan? Important lesson. He said, the soldier said, I don't feel good about this. And the captain looked at him and said, when is the last time you felt good about anything? And you certainly shouldn't feel good out here on a battlefield. No soldier in the middle of a battle should feel good. If you start feeling good, you're just as crazy as you can be. It ain't got nothing to do with your feelings. It's got everything to do with your duties. He said, our duty is to win the war. And in order to do that, a whole lot of people are going to die, and somebody just might die on this mission, which they did. And he said, but you're not here to feel good. It's not feeling good at all. And asked him a question, see, because answers come out when you start asking questions. When is the last time you felt good about anything? You've been a soldier on this battlefield ever since you landed in France. You came through D-Day. You saw carnage all the way. People dying every 10 minutes or sooner. That's all you've seen. But you're a soldier on a battlefield in an alien territory. We're behind enemy lines. And you're talking about feeling good? Are you losing your mind? It's the same with black people. We're on a battlefield. And we're talking about feeling good. Just crazy as we can be.
Okay. All righty. 516-453-9921. Let's go to Cleveland, and there is going to be Austin. Wait a minute, Austin. Let me see if I can get you there. Okay. Wait a minute. Okay, Austin, you're there. Go ahead. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Mr. Bobby. Good morning, Mr. Fuller, and thank you all so much for taking my call. Mr. Fuller, I had a question for you in regards to role models. You always say on radio not to follow people, but to follow logic. But my question to you is, if I were to look up to somebody like a Muhammad Ali or a Malcolm X, should I just follow logic, or see them as inspirations or role models, or what were your thoughts be on that?
All people have flaws. So if you follow a role model in the form of a person, you're going to follow the flaws that they have. Every last person that ever was born, white or non-white, we have flaws. Logic is flawless. A code is flawless. That's what makes it a code. It doesn't have flaws. Every time you do it, it works. Like a key in a lock. If that key doesn't work, you got the wrong key. Or the wrong lock. That's logic. Because the key works for that lock. And it'll do it every time until it's worn out. And it's the same with the universe. There's no flaws there. It's going to do what it is set to do. A comet is codified to do exactly what it does. The sun is codified. It has a code, meaning it's based on logic. The sun is flawless. You say, well, no, the sun, well, I mean, the sun has flaws. Some of them comets up there got flaws because they burn out. No, that's not a flaw. They were supposed to burn out at the time that they burned out. It's what makes the universe the universe. Everything works with precision. Everything. But people have flaws. And we don't try to minimize our flaws.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
White and non-white. And that's why the world is a mess like it is. And the white supremacist system is a flawed system. The white supremacists, are beginning reluctantly to admit that, but only grudgingly. But they need to stop what they're doing and do what we need to be doing, and that is eliminate all of our flaws. And I started off this program today with what I said. Since we keep going back and forth, that's a flaw. That's going back and forth with ourselves and with white people. We need to come to some kind of conclusions. First of all, everybody facing the truth. And the white people stop complaining about black people being woke. We need to be woke. Before then, the white people were complaining about us being asleep all the time, on the job particularly. Well, if you're a slave, you need to be asleep on the job.
I see. Okay. Well, we'll leave that one right there. Thank you, Austin and Cleveland. We have come to the conclusion of the first hour of the Counter Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr. Remember, say and do only what produces constructive results. The conclusion of conclusions. That was what Mr. Fuller started out with. So if you have to go, we thank you for listening to the first hour, and hopefully you'll be back next week with more of your questions, or at least your ear. So we thank you. Now, but for those who will stick and stay, don't go away, because we have another hour of the Counter Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr. So thank you, and we will commence that show in about 10 seconds. Thank you. All righty, I believe that's 10. Welcome back to the second hour of the Counter Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr. I am your co-host, Mr. Bobby. and we would love for you to be a participant in today's programming. So all you have to do is call this number, which is 516-453-9921. And when you do that, if you have a question or comment, press the number 1 button, and hopefully the call screener will take your name, and then you just wait until I give you the signal, and then you can ask your question. So please do that, ma'am or sir, and make it concise so that Mr. Fuller can understand that question and answer it in an appropriate manner. You can also Gmail me at the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, MrBobby @gmail.com. Now, I can't promise you that it will be read today, but it will be read at some time when it comes up in rotation. And lastly, you can join the chat room, get into the chat room. All you have to do is go to blogtalkradio.com, and you want to make sure that you click on where it says programs. You click that on, and then the show menu will come up, all the shows that are on Blog Talk, but you want the Produce Justice show. You click that on, and then the chat room becomes available to you. One of the things that came out of the chat room is this word called HAPI, happy. I guess it was the name of the Nile. Somebody check that out for me and let me know what's going on with that. But anyway, that's how you get into the to the chat room. And occasionally I will get a comment from there. But do not use the chat room to ask Mr. Fuller a question. It's just not going to happen that way. That's what the number is for, or the Gmail. Okay, with that being said, don't forget that all the books are available at ProduceJustice.com. That is ProduceJustice.com. As a matter of fact, past shows are there also. Okay, let's go ahead on with the program, and we're going to go down to Florida. And I believe it's Taylor in Florida. Okay, wait a minute. Let me get over here. And let's see here. Okay, Taylor, you're on. What is your question from Mr. Fuller? Good morning.
Hi. Good day, Mr. Bobby. Good day, Mr. Fuller. Mr. Fuller, I wanted to bring up, and I'll be quick, I was going to bring up polygamy. Mr. Fuller, I noticed polygamy is a common topic amongst men. When you hear about polygamy being done in other places, typically it's done with intent based around principles, not rules. I'm also observing that men that are considering themselves of high value are mostly based on superficial things. I'm noticing character is no longer a factor. The most recent murders, kidnaps, shootings was all done by a man. More signs of men operating in an empty state. Women, I've noticed, have always been loyal with men giving all their flaws. And as you stated, logically speaking, laws, as you may mention, Mr. Fuller, the flaws. My question is overall, what is your thoughts on polygamy, given the state and condition of men today, mostly in the West?
Okay, Mr. Fuller, on polygamy.
Raise questions about it. And come to the conclusion of what? Is this the most, does polygamy, does it produce the most constructive results? That's the question. Whatever you see people doing, it applies to anything, not just polygamy. Does it produce the most constructive results? And the answer is going to be yes or no. It's going to be one of them. It's just a matter of determining that. So, polygamy meaning having more than one wife, more than one female, and you practice that. The question is, does it, this thing called polygamy, a male having more than one female in one form or another, having, meaning as a wife, as a girlfriend, does that produce the most constructive results? Or just having one? One male, one female, together on everything, not distributing themselves over several. The male doing that. Does it produce the most constructive results? People have to answer that question, or should, by raising the question. Not just constructive results, the most constructive results for your environment, for the future of offspring that come from that, for really the best possible thing. That's what constructive results mean. The best, not just something, but the very best of what can be done or should be done in every circumstance, including that one. Is polygamy better than monogamy? How do you pronounce it? Monogamy. I think everybody understands what I'm saying, what I'm trying to say. Monogamous. One wife. Husband, wife, one. Together. Just one. One each. One female with one male. Is that the ideal situation? Is that the most constructive situation under any circumstance? The most constructive. Now, basically, the code says that should be the aim, that it doesn't get better than that. And you always want something that's the best. That's what black people should have cemented in their minds. I want to be in the best possible situation that there can ever be. Not just for now, but for forever. The best possible situation in everything that I do and say. That's how I started off the program this morning. The conclusion of conclusions. And what is that? In all things, for the rest of your life, say and do only what produces the most constructive results. So in answer to that question, that's the question. Is polygamy better than, meaning one male with a multitude of females sexually? Does that produce the most constructive results? Because if it doesn't, then you look at the alternatives and see the alternative, the most constructive results that the code has come to is what people have practiced, most people, for thousands of years. One male, one female. That's how it's kind of wound up in most circumstances. So it's kind of been tested already, but just because it's been tested to 1 degree doesn't say that's the best arrangement. But in Neely Fuller's opinion, it is. It's the ultimate. I mean, you have your full focus there. 1 male, 1 female. Forever. That's the ideal. After you look everything over, you try to pick out the very best that there is for you, whomever you are. And you're also the very best for the other person. Come as close to perfection as you possibly can. Then you compare what you got to everything else and say, don't get no better than what I got. This is it. I don't have to do all that distribution thing. I got it all right here in this one.
All righty. From the chat room, Black to Death says this concerning polygamy. Says, nothing wrong with polygamy when it's agreed upon. And when that male has enough money and resources to take care of multiple females while in poly relationships. Okay. All righty. I guess that's his VGQ.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Interesting question. Thank you, Taylor, from Florida. Calling. Don't be a stranger either, Taylor. First time I heard you, but all righty. Okay. 516-453-9921 is the number. Don't forget, when you call in, please give the call screener your name. I guess that somebody in the 760 prefix. Please give your name. In the meantime, and in between time, we're going down to Nashville, a growing city. Anthony, get ready. Get ready to come over there. Let's see here. Okay, Anthony. There we go. Let's see. Wait a minute. Buffering. Okay, there you go. Anthony, you're on with Mr. Fuller. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, gentlemen. So I have a VGQ, and I have a question. Now, I've been listening to this podcast since 2021, and that's all I've been hearing from Mr. Fuller is black culture is nothing. Black culture is bad. It's just negative things about black culture. But what I've noticed is that all of these racial classification groups that are not black, I noticed that they're imitating our culture. And, of course, white people imitate our culture, too. So, if other people are imitating black culture and becoming successful, according to the white supremacist standards, it doesn't really make sense to get rid of black culture. Not only that, but, it kind of motivates black people to continue with black culture. So, Mr. Fuller, it wouldn't make sense to get rid of black culture if everybody else is imitating it. So, why do you still have to? Why do you still put down black culture if everybody else pretty much likes it?
Because everybody else is not the standard. Black culture, just like white culture, needs to be the most constructive culture, which nobody on the planet is anywhere close to that. According to what? Neely Fuller? No, according to the evidence. Why? For one thing, you have murder among all people everywhere. Just that alone says your culture, people killing people, my goodness. And that's, that nowhere in the world you can count that as a part of your culture and stick out your chest. If you have any logic at all. Nobody can do that. See, well, oh yes, people copy other people's culture, but man, that standard is so low, it's not even worth mentioning. The people of this planet are messed up, period. The white supremacists are super messed up. Yes, white supremacist culture, I mean, it shouldn't even exist. In black culture, it's just a whole lot of trash and the sweepings up of practically what's left of all of the scraps of white culture, and what they come up with on their own. I mean, tribal warfare and all that. That's what we mean by black culture. We talk about what people do. We're not just talking about one or two things. We talk about everything that people do. People, period. I mean, this whole world is rotten as it can be. And Fuller's not the only one that said that. I mean, it's all through what a lot of people praise at the Holy Book. They say the Bible. They say it started off that way. Adam and Eve. There's a rotten culture. They said we need to clean up all of our acts. There ain't nothing to copy. It ain't nothing to copy. I mean, we do some constructive things when it comes to things, but the way people interact with each other, what do we call black culture anyway? I've tried to get a definition of that. What is black culture? And I never hear a black person who talks about black culture in the universities really define what black culture is. So I put it in the textbook. Culture for anybody is whatever you're doing at the time you're doing it. If you're rowing a canoe, that's your culture. Once you get out of that canoe rowing is not your culture. Why? You ain't rowing the canoe. You're walking across desert sand. That's your culture while you're doing it. When you stop walking across the sand and start walking across the clay, walking across clay is your culture. Culture is nothing but what you do at the time you're doing it. That's all it ever was, if truth be told, if you really believe in the truth. If you're dancing, that's your culture.
Yes.
Now, what is dancing? Well, dancing is whatever you say it is. Your brain is dancing. You can call it that. You say, my brain is dancing. Say, how can you say your brain is dancing? Your brain doesn't have feet. You got to have feet to dance. Is that necessarily so? What about people that don't have feet and they dance with their hands? Well, that's their culture. Hand dancing.
Okay. All righty. Was that your question, Anthony?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, thank you for your call. We appreciate that very much. Don't be a stranger there, Anthony. Okay, let's go to Kwaku from in California. Let me get you over here. Okay, wait a minute. Here we go. Okay, Kwaku. Wait a minute. There we go. Kwaku, you're on. Good morning, and how are you?
Good morning, Mr. Bobby. Good morning, Mr. Fuller.
Yes, sir.
Maintaining. I hope both of your health is well. My question this morning for Mr. Fuller is, I have concluded that the white supremacist chooses when to practice racism. Is it possible and or logical for a non-white person to practice counter-racism all of the time, 24/7?
Yes, it's possible, but it's never been done. See, you haven't countered racism and can prove that you're a counter-racist. Like, if a person asks me the question, Neely Fuller, are you a counter-racist? And my answer is what? According to logic and evidence, no. Nobody can even accuse me of being a counter-racist. Why? I haven't countered racism, that's why. Where is there proof that I have Neely Fuller countered racism? Well, you talk against it. Yeah, I talk against it. But that's not countering it. If it doesn't what? If it doesn't produce the most constructive result. And what will that mean? What is the most constructive result of counter-racism? That there is no more racism. That's the only proof. So I couldn't be dragged into court and be successful according to the code I would use in a court if I ever get charged with being a counter-racist, which I don't see why anybody would do that anyway or want to do that, because that's an excellent thing to do. But if a person even wanted to praise me for being a counter-racist, that wouldn't be true, because Neely Fuller has not countered racism. See, when he talks about it all the time, yeah, all right. But how effective is he? Well, I believe in a lot of stuff that he says, yeah, but has that actually done the job? See, we talk about what we believe. Like, I believe in counter-racism, but I ain't done nothing to counter racism. There's no evidence of that. Why? Racism is alive and well. You are a counter-racist when you have what? Eliminated racism. That's the only proof that that's what you are. Trying to, that's not it. See, this criteria is, our standards are too low. That's why I say the black culture, there ain't nothing to it. It's, you add up everything that black people do and then call that the greatest culture that ever was or ever can be, because that's the kind of culture we need, the greatest that ever was and ever can be, and the most constructive, because that's what will really make it great. We like to use that word great. What's greater? Mr. Donald Trump uses that. Make America great again. America never did exist, so that's impossible. That's an idea. America has never existed. That's an idea that is yet to be. The idea of justice. It's never been done in recorded history by anybody. So even when people accuse America, according to evidence, of doing this and doing that, they're not telling the truth. Because in order for something to do something, it has to exist. There's never been no American people nowhere, ever, not for 5 minutes. They have never existed, because there's never been any people who practice justice in recorded history. Never. Meaning guaranteeing that nobody's mistreated and guaranteeing that the person that needs help the most got the most constructive help. That's never happened in recorded history among any people. So nobody has bragging rights, getting back to that culture thing again. Nobody's culture is nowhere near what it ought to be. None. No evidence of it. Nobody being mistreated. And all the people who need help got it. Where has that existed? No place I ever heard of.
All righty. All right, Keku. Thank you so much for your call. And let's do this. We're going to break it off early. You're listening to the Counter-Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., and we thank you for your listenership. For the remaining 34 minutes of this program, or today's program, being September the 19th, if you'd like to get in contact with the show to ask your question, all you have to do is call this number, 516-453-9921. And if you have a question or a brief comment, just press the number 1 button and you will be heard. First-time callers, make sure that you do that and tell the call screener that you are a first-time caller, and we have something special for you. Okay. Let's see here. As we start this last 33 minutes here, remember now when you call, give the call screener your name so that I can get it and give you a proper introduction, especially the person that is in the okay, I was getting ready to say the 808, but went off the screen here, so you can call back. Mr. Fuller, we're going to speak about your book. There was a question somebody asked about talking about your book, and I think you have addressed this subject many times, speaking about how powerful that the code book that you have written is very good, and I guess wanted the worldwide distribution of the book through e-books, which happens to be the current technology. Could you speak about your book and also, see, this person said your book should be this, Racism Is and How It Works. Mr. Fuller should publish and distribute his book by any and all means necessary, including e-books. Can you address that? And also, while we're on that, address your book, please, Mr. Fuller.
Well, it's being planned on, and that was when my first book was the original copy. I wanted it to be worldwide because the race problem is worldwide. You can't solve it, with this patchwork way that we have been doing it. It's got to be a world thing every time we speak and act. We're supposed to be speaking and acting in behalf of the entire planet because we want the system of white supremacy, which is the world government, abolished. But you don't abolish something unless you got some idea of what you're going to have that's better. And what's better is a system of justice, which many people say have given lip service to for a long, long time, if not like from the very beginning. But nobody has seriously tried it. Not seriously, because if people had seriously tried it, we would have it. We would have a worldwide system of government that's just a system of justice. Say, what's the name of the government? The system of justice. That's what government should be. Any government. Guaranteeing that no person is mistreated and guaranteeing that the person that needs help the most gets the most constructive help. Doesn't get any better than that in any court of logic. And nobody has achieved that. It's just been a contest of matching wits and fighting about it. That's mostly what people have done in what they call civilization. It's never existed. There's never been a civilization among people of planet Earth in recorded history. Never. every book that has that on the cover, or every professor that has that as a subject matter, according to compensatory logic, he's not telling the truth. Right out the gate. Civilization means you practice justice 24/7 without fail. That's civilized. There's no such thing as that. No civilization has ever existed. Grecian civilization, Roman ancient civilization. You call that mess a civilization? With all that killing? That gives it away right there. Was anybody being killed deliberately by anybody? Oh man, the Roman Empire? Are you kidding? That's a civilization? Well, they built big buildings. No. And that ain't even a good start. You got people killing people, blood all over the place. Roman emperors. So, getting back to the subject, this is the type of stuff that's in Neely Fuller's book. Because I'm saying nobody's qualified to say that they are anywhere near being a civilized person. Nobody in recorded history. Now, maybe in pre-recorded history, it might have been one or two or something or nothing. We don't know because it's never been recorded. But it's one thing for sure. In recorded history, people are being mistreated, have been, in recorded history right from the beginning and non-stop since. So nobody got bragging rights talking about their culture. Doesn't make no difference who they are. You have allowed people to be mistreated. So you ain't got bragging rights either. Just allowing somebody else to do it if you're not doing it. But that's the qualification you have to have a culture that you can brag about. Is anybody being mistreated in your culture? Anybody being mistreated for 5 minutes? One person mistreating another in your culture? And if the answer is yes, you ain't qualified to brag about nothing. You don't have no civilization. Yeah, but it's just one person. I mean, the odds, you're asking people to be, superhuman. You better believe it. If you're going to have bragging rights, you better be superhuman. Otherwise, quit bragging. You ain't even got started with somebody being mistreated. Well, it didn't kill him. I mean, was he mistreated? She mistreated. Anybody. You ain't got a civilization. Somebody being mistreated. You ain't nowhere close. That's the kind of standard we need. I'm talking to the whole world now since we're talking about interpreting Neely Fuller's book. That's the standard. That's the only standard. There is no other standard. You got nobody being mistreated. And you got everybody who needs help getting it. Well, that's almost an impossible, or duty impossible. It's been done before. People say something is impossible. If you can think about it, whatever created you can bring it into being. That's why you're allowed to think about it. And that has been thought about even by Neely Fuller with his feeble brain. But that is the standard. Nobody being mistreated, and everybody who needs constructive help got it. Otherwise, you ain't civilized. Neely Fuller. He ain't qualified. He ain't civilized. He's never been a part of a civilization. None.
So you wrote the book, and that's for distribution. And you can get the book by going where, Mr. Fuller?
To producejustice.com. And some of the things that I'm saying now are in the book.
Okay.
Just in a different way.
Just in a different way. Okay. All righty. Back to the phone lines. I don't have a name here, but I'm going to press. I don't believe in luck, but anyway, let me do this. I don't know your name, so don't be offended. You're on with Mr. Fuller. Your name didn't come up, but go ahead. Go ahead. You're on the air with Mr. Fuller, please. Go ahead. Hello? Okay, I'll just put you there. Okay, person in the, wait a minute. Hello? Okay, I hear background noise. Let's do this. Okay, Mary in Colorado. Thank you, Mary. Thank you for responding. Wait a minute. See if I can get you in here. Okay, Mary in Colorado. Wait a minute. There you go. Okay, Mary.
Thanks.
Good morning. Yes.
Thanks. Optimal health, everyone. I'll stay on the line after VGQ. I started justiceradiostation.com around 2014. Compensatory concept definition of education is learning everything you need to know at the time you need to know it for constructive thought, speech, action. In support of this definition, the beginning, the end of all knowledge is knowledge of self, self-inquiry, quest for knowledge of truth, so that the individual will be able to guarantee that no one is mistreated, starting with the individual. JusticeRadioStation.com. Thank you, Master Fuller.
Okay. All right. VGQ from Mary. Okay. In Colorado. Okay. All right. This person in the 412 area, I don't have your name up on the screen here, but I'm going to try you one more time. Good morning. You're on with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead, please, with your question. Okay. Well, I've tried 3 times and nothing's there, so I guess we'll have to eliminate that. Okay. Let's see here. Let's go to Gmail here. Could you, Mr. Bobby, could you please ask Mr. Fuller if he can remember having more in-depth thought about countering the system of racism while out in the, quote, sun, end of quote, or in warmer temperatures, as opposed to being in colder temperatures and climates? I only ask because recorded history shows that the majority of uprisings and or overt resisting of racists have occurred during the hottest periods of the year. Okay, Mr. Fuller, you have a comment on that? Since he did ask the question upon that? Okay, go ahead.
Well, my comment would be, that's an excellent question. Does that actually happen? And every question has an answer, so it's a matter of finding out whether that's true or false. It's one or the other. I don't know. That's the initial, my initial response. Mm-hmm. And so, according to the code, next thing for me to do is to find out. Because every question has an answer. No such thing as a question without an answer.
Let me say this, Mr. Fuller. Based on your experience of all these years, and when you've heard of uprisings or things happening, based on your memory, if you can remember, and do remember some things, has it occurred during the time when it appeared that it was in warmer climates?
No, I never thought about it. It sounds like it could be true, but it also, when I think about it, and I'm thinking about it right now, it's also evidence that that's not true. Like some of the biggest battles that happened, like the Battle of the Bulge, during periods where it was very, very cold. Also, there's a battle for a place called Stalingrad in World War II, where soldiers froze to death on the barbed wire in grotesque positions. 40 below zero. I read somewhere, I think, at a place called Stalingrad. That's in Russia. German soldiers, ill prepared for the winter. One of the biggest battles in history, or at least in World War II, happened at Stalingrad. And it was freezing. Unbelievably cold. Some people said when the wind gust was blowing out of Siberia, 40 degrees below zero, and the soldiers wearing summer clothes. That doesn't sound like a good trip to me.
Okay. All righty, let's go back to the phone lines, and this is Boo from Canada. Let me see here if I can get you in here. Okay, Boo, you're on with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead with your question.
Good morning, Mr. Bobby, Mr. Fuller. Good morning to you.
Yes.
I have a question regarding black people and technology, because I noticed that we don't seem to embrace technology as much as white people or the white supremacists do. You can even see that some of our most prominent black scholars, they don't have platforms, technologically advanced platforms. It's almost like even within the 21st century, we're still almost primitive in comparison. We don't seem to embrace technology in that we are always lagging behind and we always have to catch up. But we claim to be, I guess, like spiritual, but I see a mismatch there. And my question is, why is it that way? Can we not combine our spiritualness with technology?
Okay, let me have Mr. Fuller answer that question. Mr. Fuller?
Well, we can, but not under the system of white supremacy. We only learn what the white supremacists allow us to learn. And so they provide the textbooks and all this. We write a few of them ourselves, but it's based on what they have written. We don't think outside of the box, so to speak. And when we do, we kind of just wander around and just kind of lose our way on account of all of the noise that is going on around us. And that's what the system of white supremacy is designed to do. They check on black people to see what is being taught, and they steer it directly and indirectly. And they are saying now they're very angry about black people thinking on their own. And what does that mean in a practical sense? Asking questions. A black person who asks questions and constantly asks questions is dangerous to the system of white supremacy. And we have been taught that, and some of our parents going way back. I've witnessed that, excuse me, myself. Shut up, boy, you ask too many questions. So that calls for another question, logically speaking.
Yeah, what is too many questions?
How many questions are too many?
Yeah, right.
See, because all problems are solved through what? Questions and answers.
Questions and answers, yes, sir.
You don't stop a person from asking questions. Just be ready for the answers, with the answers, or seek to get the answers.
Okay.
This is how we get what you call progress. So don't stop people, period, any people, from asking questions. Because all problems are solved through the process of questions and answers.
All righty.
As soon as you get the answer to one question, most likely that will call for another question. So you set yourself up all of your existence to do what? Ask and answer questions. Your whole existence. Until when? Until all problems are solved. All problems. Don't stop asking and answering questions.
Okay. Interesting. Thank you, Boo. Interesting comments in the chat room. One of the chats says, wait a minute. Oops, screen just moved here. Yeah, wait a minute. Let me see if I can get it. One of the questions from Still Learning 2 says, quote, if you think technology will solve your problems, then you don't understand technology or your problems. Sesh 7 says, the myth - education of the Negro. Black to Death says, yeah, that's because of white supremacy, sir. And then he goes on to say, you can't think outside of the box when you're always boxed in. That's VGQ. And lastly, Still Learning 2 says, racism, white supremacy has trained non-white and white people that technology equals fun/entertainment, vice tools of surveillance. Big Brother is watching you. All righty. Let's go to the Mojave Desert and Estelle. Get ready, Estelle. Let me get this cursor over here, and here we go. All righty, Estelle, you're on with Mr. Fuller. What is your question? Good morning.
Morning, Mr. Bobby, Mr. Fuller. A soldier out here in the battlefield called Planet Earth. I have a comment, and then I was going to have a question. The comment was, when I look at some of these world leaders, so-called world leaders under the tutelage of white supremacists, I look at President Lopez Obrador from Mexico, President Xi Jinping from from China, President Kim Jong-un from Korea, and President Ibrahim Raisa from Iran. I have a question. Mr. Fuller uses the term quite a bit, dark skin. The people are about, the white supremacists are about getting the people of dark skin. How would you state, Mr. Fuller, these pale skins, some almost paler than white people, are able to stand in their so-called positions of power under the tutelage of white supremacy?
I couldn't understand the question.
Okay, still there's an echo.
Seems like there was an echo.
Yeah, still there's an echo in there. Mr. Fuller couldn't hear you.
Okay. I'm off. Can you hear me now without echo?
Can you hear now, Mr. Fuller?
That's a little bit clearer.
Okay, go ahead, Michelle.
All right. All right. These leaders that I mentioned from different so-called nations are not dark-skinned. They're pale-skinned people. Question, Mr. Fuller. Are these leaders permitted to stand because they are pale-skinned people?
Yes. If that's what the white supremacists have as their intention, and is working, whatever's being said, and what is working is whatever gives strength to the system of white supremacy, then logically speaking, that's what the white supremacists are doing. The white supremacists work in mysterious ways, but you can always reveal what's going on by, does it give strength to the system of white supremacy, or does it weaken the system of white supremacy? Because if it weakens the system of white supremacy, and there's evidence of that weakness, then the counter-racist system is in play, because it's working against the system of white supremacy. You go by the evidence. That's all you go by, nothing else. And so, in answer to that question, does that backtalk, as you laid it out, does it seem to, based on evidence, seem to give greater strength to the system of racism, or does it seem to weaken the system of racism? Because that's the criteria.
All right.
That's the logic. You go by the evidence of what happens.
Okay. All right, Estelle, from the Mojave Desert, thank you for your call. Appreciate it. New caller alert. That is, Dina from Florida. Wait a minute, Dina, see if I can get you in here. Okay, Dina, you're on with Mr. Fuller. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good morning. I wanted to first thank you for taking my call and to state that I have been listening to the show since 2018. I wanted to state that I have often heard Mr. Fuller say that on several occasions that the Negro or black person is a creation of the white supremacist. My question is, given our reaction to racism, our behaviors, our thoughts and actions, have we also created the white supremacists? In other words, could they be what they are if we weren't the way we are with our behavior and actions and thoughts?
Mr. Fuller?
Or are we, in other words, did we become victims of white supremacy by submitting to the ideology and the functions of white supremacy? If that's the question, yes, we became victims by them making us become victims. We didn't know what to do. And they knew how to do what they wanted to do. We didn't know how to defend ourselves from it. Otherwise, it couldn't have happened.
Is that because we didn't have a code, Mr. Fuller?
Apparently, we didn't. That's what the evidence shows. Why? Because the white code was stronger than the black code, if there was one. And apparently, history has shown if the ideology of defense against the system of white supremacy did not exist.
So we didn't have a code then?
No, there was no code. See, it takes a code to defeat a code. There was no counter-racist code. That's why I'm trying to bring one into existence. And people who came before me, I mean, like Martin Luther King, Malcolm, and all of them, before I was deployed, and putting my 2 cents in. But we really don't have a counter-racist code. We don't have anything similar to it. It seems like we have never thought about it, except those who have thought about it, like myself. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Elijah Muhammad, Frederick Douglass, Dorothy Height, all of the males and females. Sojourner Truth. Now we are trying to produce a successful code, meaning, logically speaking, replace the system of white supremacy with the system of justice. Why? Because the system of white supremacy is a system dedicated to non-justice. A counter-racist code would be a system that is successful in replacing the system of white supremacy as a system of non-justice with a system of justice. And it's only then, when we have a system of justice, then we can say that there was a counter-racist code, because a racist code is designed to maintain justice, injustice rather, non-justice. Maintain the mistreatment of people based on color.
Okay. All right, Dina, thank you for your call. We'll get ready to wrap this up. Mr. Fuller, an interesting question here. From Still Learning 2, can racism, white supremacy continue to survive without compliance from non-white people?
No.
Okay,
no.
Why? Why?
Because mathematically, either you have white supremacy or you don't. And you'll have it because it is in place, the system of white supremacy, and it will be through the efforts of white people who are not white supremacists, or those who are, but they become not white supremacists by saying we ought to try justice instead of white supremacy as a way for people to function, and then you don't have it. You either have it or you don't.
Okay.
And whomever.
All righty. Well, we got to wrap it up.
Decides that non-white people should not be subject to mistreatment based on color. Once that's done, it's done.
Okay.
Regardless of who did it.
All righty. Interesting question, because Still Learning 2 asked that question and finally said that, agreed with you. Still Learning 2 said, nope, because we didn't have a gun, the great equalizer. And then there was a quote from, I guess that was a quote from Dr. Francis Quest Wells. And I don't remember that, but maybe it was. Well, okay, we've come to the conclusion of the show, so we thank you for all of your calls, your Gmails, your VGQs, and all the other good stuff. We apologize for the mistakes that I know I apologize for the mistakes I made today. Hopefully I'll get better. We have wrap it up. Mr. Fuller, the last word belongs to you.
ProduceJustice.com. Buy the book if you think it's worth it, and go to ProduceJustice.com in order to get it.
All righty. Thank you, everybody. We'll try to do better next week. Thank you.